King County, the county that I'm located in, funneled $1.5 billion with weak oversight. Potential fraud flagged. This is a 6,700% increase in spending, and there may be just a scooch of fraud. Let's get into it. Here we go. A new audit revealed that the King County Department of Community and Human Services sounds like homelessness, doesn't it? Yeah. Fiscal oversight failures have resulted in potential fraud. Audit, fiscal oversight failures, fraud, potential fraud. Now, we don't know the full extent of this. Reagan Dunn, I was watching I think it was a Cairo piece. Reagan Dunn said, yep, bring in the FBI. I'm with him on that one. And that this is insanity. King County Auditor's Office latest report identified technical invoicing challenges. Is that what we're calling fraud now? Technical invoicing challenges? I had a technical invoicing challenge. I got the invoice. I wildly overpaid, or I didn't get the invoice and I paid anyway. And a lack of understanding of what is being approved through the department's hybrid model. What in the F is that? Lack of understanding. A lack of understanding. $1.5 billion, and there is a lack of understanding. There's a lack of understanding of how you could increase this amount of money to $1.5 billion. The Department of Community and Human Services is responsible for granting and monitoring substantial public funds for the county, administering 90% of all county grants. It's all of the funding for all of the stuff that King County, one of the bluest counties in North America, deems absolutely necessary. Now, we got $1.5 billion of money spent here, right? And we just had taxes levied on the people of Washington State of $9.2 billion. Something like that, roughly. Right? I mean, how many hundreds of millions of dollars do we have in fraud here? A couple $100 million? I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, all right, all of our money isn't going exactly where it needs to go, is it? Meanwhile, homelessness just skyrocketing. I mean, it just has, just out of control, skyrocketing. Build it and they will come. That's what's happened. Here's what I want you to focus on, okay? In 2023, 2024 combined, both of those years, the department distributed more than $1.5 billion. Billion dollars. That is a 6,700% increase from $22 million in 2019 and 2020 combined. 23, 24, $1.5 billion. 2019, 2020, $22 million. I mean, this is insanity. This is just absolute craziness. And this does not cover a lot of the outside programs that King County Regional Housing Authority. I mean, we had one numbnut, Mark Dones, and he was asking for, I think, $10, $11 billion for King County Regional Housing Authority to spend on homelessness, which would have built probably a single unit of housing for every single homeless person in King County. But, you know, that's not going to work because our budget isn't there. These numbers are just absolute nuts. The audit found that the department responded to the massive increase in fiscal responsibility by focusing on reducing barriers to county contracting for organizations without much government contracting experience. Reducing barriers to county contracting. They're contracting with folks, with organizations without much contracting experience. They didn't know what they're doing. County doesn't know what it's doing. Contractors don't know what it's doing. $1.5 billion flowing. I mean, who's going to turn down money coming into them? Nobody. That's not the way this game is played, right? You just take it and go, all right, hopefully we can spend it on something, reasonable and come up with receipts that make sense for this, I guess. All right. Keep sending that money, though, because that's how the game is played. Zero fiscal responsibility Almost zero. The department made these policy changes without installing a safety net to monitor whether the funds were being used appropriately. You've got to absolutely love Washington State. You've got to love King County. You've got to love, and I'm being facetious, by the way, you've got to love progressive Democrat policies. Yeah. Because that's how you get here. That's how you get all your money spent. You don't have anything to show for it. And things get worse because things are not getting better here in King County. They are not getting better. They're getting worse. They're getting more expensive. More and more people are falling off the wagon and becoming homeless. More and more people are unable to afford basically anything because of so much in the way of policy that has caused, gasoline to go through the roof, energy costs to go through the roof. Housing costs are absolutely insane. Insane. We've got a listing right now in Seattle, and it's a decent address, 38th Avenue Northeast. I'm going down a real estate road here for just 1 second. And I think we were listed at like $960,000. This is not in it's an okay neighborhood. It's a decent neighborhood. It's not great. It's not one of Seattle's premier neighborhoods, but it's not the worst either. It's okay. Started off at $960,000. I don't know how many offers we've got, and they're just rolling in as I record this right now. And I think the highest we've got so far is an escalation clause up to $1.1 million. And this is not much of a house. So 1.15, I think, was a number, and I'm not going to give anything more than that. But, maybe 1.175, something like that. Nuts, right? Under $1 million, boom, to that. No wonder people can't afford anything. And this is an average home in a decent neighborhood in Seattle. Not a great neighborhood. But that's what's going on, right? Let's watch a little video. Now you kind of know before we get into the details, check out this video here. Okay. This is Claudia Balducci. She was on the Bellevue City Council for a long time. She's been a King County council member. And she is stepping in because she is running for, I think, King County executive. And she wants the political clout, as does everybody who plays the politics game, of if she comes up with a good audit, which this is a good audit. This is some strong work, along with Reagan Dunn, Republican. Sorry, Reagan. Reagan Dunn, Republican. He's always on the reasonable side of things, always. Let's hear what Claudia Balducci has to say. Here we go.
Everybody, thank you all for your time today, for being here. As I think you all know, 2 weeks ago in our King County Council Committee of the Whole, which I chair, we held a hearing on what I then called a damning audit of our contract management in Department of Community and Human Services, particularly in the Best Starts for Kids program. At that time, some of my colleagues and I spoke up and asked that we undertake an effort to learn more and improve how we're serving the people of King County, and I'm here today to talk about some next steps. This audit demands that we go deeper, that we demand accountability, but more importantly, that we make services reach the people they're intended to serve. These dollars were voted by the voters in order to help the community, and that's what we want to see them do. So today I'm announcing some immediate next steps. Before I get into details, I just want to state a few key principles here that I think we should all find troubling. First, we do not know the extent of the problem. This is an audit of selected contracts, not of the entire program, nor the entire department. There is $1 billion under grant a year in King County, and we don't know the extent of the oversight challenges. Number two.
The oversight challenges. I've got concerns. We have challenges. There's been some invoicing issues. There's concern. $1.5 billion. I've got concern. It's what we're doing here.
Despite the best intentions and hard work of departmental staff, the checks and balances and internal accountability systems were simply not in place to track funds that provide assurance of delivery and efficacy. And third, we're learning that while so many contractors and service providers are doing incredible work in the community, King County has lacked the support systems to help them succeed and or to stop the rare circumstances of fraud and abuse.
rare circumstances of fraud and abuse, and Reagan Dunn is saying, bring in the FBI. That's quite a contrast, isn't it? Now, she doesn't want to throw King County and all these programs under the bus. I get that. She's trying to get elected. But there's some pretty massive liability out there. And what's going to happen? Not much. You're going to have an audit. Well, we're going to put on, new safeguards to make this better. And there's more work to be done. You're left with, all right, this is where my taxpayer dollars being spent. And we just had $9.2 billion in new taxes layered on. Okay.
So all three of these areas require action. And the good news is they're fixable. But we've got to get to work now and do it in a way that is transparent and starts to rebuild trust in the public at large, including the very communities we're trying to serve. So this is why I'm not waiting for the election or for a new executive to take office. We're starting today. First of all, I'm scheduling a special committee hearing of the Committee of the Whole to focus on this issue, to bring forward the ordinance that has been proposed by Councilmember Dunn and amendments by myself and any other council members who wish to engage. And we will take action in the committee meeting in order to bring forward action from the council. At this meeting, I plan to have subject matter experts and providers to speak to their needs and their issues and make sure that our fixes are having the intended effect and not having unintended effects so that we can accelerate reform and implement things now. I will be personally asking the executive to launch an internal audit of all Department of Community and Human Services contracting so we can know the full extent of the problem and scale solutions. Beyond that, I'll be asking that the executive implements a full internal audit system going forward that regularly reviews and reports on all contracts throughout the county, including how awards are granted, how they are tracked, how we are accountable to taxpayers and beneficiaries, just as contractors are accountable to us. It's a two-way street.
All right. So that's your overview of what she is proposing. And in there is Reagan Dunn indicating, he's in on this as well, as far as looking to see what can be done moving forward. Numerous instances were flagged in which improper payments, including potential fraud, were made across multiple DHS contracts and programs. According to the audit, 2 grantees likely altered or forged supporting documents, which may meet the definition of fraud under county policy. 3 grantees' spending deviated significantly from budgets without written approval, and 6 grantees were paid without consistently submitting detailed expense reports. There's just no accountability here. And this is what you find in Democrat-run progressive political environments. Just a bunch of money going back and forth between a whole bunch of entities that have never run a business. And this is big business, the county subcontracting with all of their subcontractors, which are these smaller entities. Nobody in this system typically has any business background, and they're just out there winging it because they love working with people and they want to support the people. All right. Okay. And you've got to have that in any community. But 1.5 billion, 1.5 large with a B. That is something else, right? B. DCHS is currently considering whether it needs to recover funds or take any corrective action. 1.5 large that we gave out. We need to get some of that back. Hey guys, could you bring it this way? Could you bring it? That Ferrari you bought? Yeah. You're going to want to turn that in because you're not probably going to make those payments. Now, I'm being completely ridiculous, but the money went somewhere. While I feel very positive about the direction that this entity is moving, I was alarmed by the level of internal control failure that we encountered during the audit. That's King County Auditor Kimber Waltmanson said. During a committee of the whole meeting on Tuesday, the department uses a hybrid payment model. Here we get into it, which sets monthly payments based on contract budgets. In other words, if a contract had a 12-month budget of $120, DCHS pays $10K per month. This model accounted for more than $130 million in DCHS provider payments in 2024. I mean, just millions of dollars floating back and forth. Just. The auditor found that the payments in excess of expenses can build up over time. You got that money rolling in. Who's going to say no? Turn that money down. You just, turn that money down. Let's be transparent. Let's be honest. In one case, a grantee received $80,000 more than it had spent on youth services before the department paused payment. Oh, so your receipts aren't really matching up with what you're giving you. Anyway, here's another $80K. Boop, gone. King County Auditor's Office recommends the department ensure that staff are supported in their fiscal monitoring duties, identify risks, develop clear processes, managing excess payments. Oh, just absolutely. Of course, there's no quote from Reagan Dunn here. And here's from one of our lone Republicans in all of Washington state who actually knows what he's doing. I am demanding immediate, and this is Reagan Dunn, I'm demanding immediate accountability and introducing legislation to put an end to this reckless spending, said Dunn. Everybody else is just dancing around the whole thing. So many of the news outlets did not report the 6,700% increase, those 2-year increments year over year, those 2-year blocks, because it's so horrific. It's so crazy. It's so nutty. Hey, just give them all our money and we'll see how it goes. Every single dollar must be tracked, verified, and spent responsibly, not lost to fraud and abuse. The people of King County deserve so much better. Isn't that why we're getting the F taxed out of us on a statewide level? Because you got a bunch of stuff like this going on as well? Yeah. You got state, you got county, you got individual cities. The auditor's report paints a troubling picture. Failure to keep up with basic safeguards. Nearly half of all organizations receiving county money in 2024 were flagged. Yeah, this is insane. While nearly half of all organizations receiving county money in 2024 were flagged as high risk, monitoring remained lax. They're flagged as high risk, and yet you've got no accountability. You've got no system to actually ensure that money is being spent on what they say it's being spent or being spent at all. We don't know. It's like California's $24 billion or $22 billion spent on the homelessness issue, and they don't really know where it went because they don't have any safeguards in place. They don't have any systems in place to account for the money. Yeah. How do you get here? You get a whole bunch of DEI people in place, in positions of authority, in leadership positions that don't know what they're doing, and you give them large amounts of money because they sent in a proposal and it looked from a DEI standpoint amazing on paper, and this is King County, and this is the road that we go down. All of this virtue signaling, just a whole bunch of numbnut programs. I mean, we've got numbnut programs for days in King County. Investigators uncovered improper payments and likely fraud, including cases where grantees altered invoices to inflate reimbursement requests, documentation was allegedly falsified, and the distribution of prepaid debit cards and thousands of dollars in stipends occurred with little or no tracking. In some cases, subcontractors are even paid hundreds of thousands of dollars outside the scope of their approved contracts. Huh! Wow! That's weird, right? I mean, that's just strange, isn't it? To watch a deal on Como. Here's Como. Are they going to give us the real thing? Let's see. Waste Watch.
Tonight's Waste Watch report, a new King County audit says millions of taxpayer dollars was misused and lacked any oversight. Good evening, I'm Mary Naum.
And I'm Preston Phillips. There's also a question of whether prosecutors could also pursue fraud charges. Reporter Chris Daniels live tonight from Seattle to explain. Chris?
Yeah, Preston and Mary, we are talking about millions of dollars that was handed out unchecked, according to this new audit, a situation that King County Councilmember Reagan Dunn calls an unmitigated disaster. Inside a somber King County Council chambers, council members could not deny the severity of the claims.
Make no mistake, this is a damning audit.
It's an unmitigated disaster.
King County
Reagan, tell us how you really feel. Tell us what you think really happened here. I mean, don't mince words. Don't mince words. An unmitigated disaster. Oh, couldn't happen to a better county, could it? It couldn't happen to a better county and a better state. Keep voting blue. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Gonna be great. Here we go.
The audit discovered that hundreds of millions of dollars in grants allocated for community and human service programs were left unchecked, resulting in improper payments, including potential fraud across multiple programs and contracts. The audit looked at 4 grantees in particular, including Restorative Community Pathways. The RCP is a juvenile diversion program that has a 53% recidivism rate and already lost the trust of the King County Prosecutor's Office. The audit.
That is what kind of started all this off. Over 50%. I remember seeing that thinking, well, that seems about right. You got a bunch of knuckleheads, running these justice reforms programs that are just completely inadequate at doing anything other than letting the young criminals back out on the streets. And it's got a 50%, over 50% recidivism, meaning, that's a hard word to say, by the way, meaning they commit another crime. I mean, you let these kids out just left, right, and center willy-nilly to do their shenanigans on the street. I mean, it's no wonder that you've got a bunch of kids running around shooting each other, shooting other people, stabbing people. I mean, you got a bunch of criminals running around. But that is justice reform, and that is progressive King County in a nutshell. And then when you see the actual numbers, you're like, well, that makes about sense. That sounds about right. I mean, all of this is just a train wreck, an unmitigated disaster. What did Claudia Balducci call it? A damning report, a damning audit? Yeah, when politicians use those kind of words, unmitigated disaster, that's when you know, this isn't good.
Says that DCHS sent money to the groups without proper documentation.
One grantee whose supporting documents were cash withdrawals, 2 grantees who likely altered or forged supporting documents, which may meet the definition of fraud under county policy, 3 grantees whose spending deviated significantly from budgets without written approval or amendment, and 6 grantees who were paid without consistently submitting detailed expense reports.
We didn't quite have it together.
Is this audit as simple as these organizations?
We didn't quite have it together. We were so close. We were so close. If we just had more housing, if we just had a little bit more money, if we just had a little bit more oversight, this whole thing wouldn't have been an unmitigated disaster. It would have been just King County at its finest. Oh.
Organizations were getting checks and getting money that nobody was then circling back to check on.
Yes. Yeah, there's evidence of altered invoices.
Councilmember Reagan Dunn pressed for the audit and says it confirmed his worst fears and says it is now a discussion point before the county raises more taxes to potentially pay for some of these similar programs.
Yep. Here we are with the results of a unmitigated disaster of a grant program that must be repaired because King County is coming to the taxpayers with 5 new taxes this year. Okay. We can't ask people to fund 5 taxes when we cannot get our financial house in order. And that is what it's all about, trust and accountability to the public and their tax dollars.
How much money do you think was?
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a Republican. Yep. I mean, that straight up. There you go. That's reasonable, right? And he's the one that kind of has been pressing for this. And the other council members are jumping on board because this is a great thing to jump on board if you are if you're running for office or, you want this on your resume. I fought for the audit.
I'm confident saying tens of millions of dollars.
I did not hear back from the RCP today when I asked them for a comment on this situation. Bottom line, it seems like all of the King County Council agrees that there was a lack of oversight here and there needs to be more accountability on the spending by King County on some of these programs. Dunn is now proposing an ordinance which would strengthen the language for the oversight of these groups and this grant program to make sure there are new protocols in place. Preston and Mary?
Chris, this is extremely alarming. So with the auditor using the word fraud in this situation, does that mean criminal charges could come out of this?
Potentially. I asked the King County Prosecutor's Office about that today. They said there have been no referrals yet, but we're talking about things like altered invoices, forged documents, used debit and credit cards that potentially were used without any sort of paperwork. I also reached out to the King County Executive's Office today, and Shannon Braddock did release a statement to Como News acknowledging that the county fell short of its high standards, and it also welcomes any sort of changes to strengthen the code and strengthen how exactly this money is handed out.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Unmitigated disaster. We have fallen short, folks. We have fallen short. So when your team gets absolutely blown out, whatever sport they're playing, we haven't achieved our high standards. We have fallen short from our extremely high standards of winning athletic competitions. And we will work very hard in the future to avoid unmitigated disasters like today's loss. Is that what we're doing? It sure feels like it. It sure feels like it. What's so crazy is that, King County residents, you know what they'll do? It's pretty normal. This is Washington State. It's kind of what we're doing. It's when you got a bunch of libtards in charge and you got a bunch of progressives in charge, this is what you get. They handed out a whole bunch of money with no oversight, and that's how you waste literally millions in dollars. Now, Reagan Dunn said tens of millions of dollars. I mean, it's couple $100 million, 1.5 large, so 10% of 1.5 million. 150 million, 200 million. Sure. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you? Now, the one thing I would say about this is that the audit only did a small sampling of all the programs that consist of the money being spent here. Maybe they just hit the jackpot, just really honed in on the ones that were most fraudulent. Maybe that happened. Maybe that's not what happened. And there's way more spending here. It's across the board. It's across the board. Let's be honest. Let's not throw the dog a bone, right? All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for watching. Love to have you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again. Bye for now.